All right, looks like we are good to go.
Happy Thursday, everybody. If you're tuning in, welcome to the Scaling Lean Weekly Live. You have Jonathan Polanski and Nina Brennan here, co-founders of Scaling Lean. If you're new here, we go live every single week, whether it is on Facebook or you're catching us on YouTube. We're here for it to share the wins, the losses, and the successes and failures that we see in the online space. But we're also here to just bring some raw and transparent feedback from the marketing industry, from what we're seeing is working, what's not working, what we're doing going forward, and why we're doing it. So today we're going to talk about the focus factor. And a lot of businesses fail because they don't have laser focus on a vision that they're building, and they're kind of just picking things that they see as working for other people, copycatting other people, and that's why it doesn't work. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So with that being said, JP, you can take us in.
Absolutely love this topic, Nina. Look forward to coming to you all today with some great info on focus. This is coming from firsthand experience from what we've learned after helping businesses generate over $7 million in the past 3 years. So if you don't know us, I'm Jonathan Polanski. Again, Nina Brennan. We do this every single Thursday for the past, what, Nina, like 2 years, 3 years?
Almost
Since
two and a half.
Yeah, so it's freaking awesome to be here with you all. Let us know where you're tuning in from. This is interactive, so drop any comments or questions below. We'll get back to you whether it's during the live or after the live with some valuable information, feedback, guides pertaining to your question. So yeah, with that being said, Nina, I really wanted to bring in some questions, kind of like an open Q&A format here of kind of like where we've been, what we learned with working with a lot of different folks in different areas of business, right? So the first thing that comes to mind for me is I know when we were first starting out, and when I was in particularly, I had this awesome, huge vision, right? And it was really based on, creating this freedom lifestyle and coming online and having my own business. And I started meeting all these awesome people that were happy and light and full of love and like passion to doing the things they want. And in that phase of growth, I noticed myself losing focus on what I wanted, and I started kind of going into these cycles of learning new things, and then I would start gaining momentum, and then I would find a new thing, and I'd loop back, right? And then I would have success with that thing, and then I'd go through the valley of despair, and then I start losing some momentum, and then I find another shiny object, and this is very, very common in entrepreneurship. And I really just thought of today, we could really showcase some of the focus points that we take every day, the mundane tasks that aren't always easy, that really keeps us moving towards that future goal.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very important to have a strong vision and keep that in mind as you are building. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, is vision is the driving factor of focus of what you should be doing on a quarterly basis, yearly basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and even a daily basis. And for us crazy people, even an hourly basis. So with that being said, I think it's a really great topic. I think we talked a little bit about the Habits app and everything like that coming into the new year. But this is definitely a time where people are focused for 3 weeks and then it's like they shift focus again. So it's a great time to bring this topic up as we are entering the bulk of 2025.
Yeah, we're now in the cosmic new year, which is after that first 21 days of the new year is actually when the new year really happens in like astrology, from my understanding, right? So now is the time to really take action on the big goals, which at this point, some folks kind of petered out already on their New Year's resolutions. So that being said, I did have a conversation as well. This week that kind of led into this as well. So I wanted to bring that forward. And we do social media audits, and that's kind of how the conversation went with one of the people that I was with is like let's break down like what are you doing every day? Like where are you posting on social media? What platforms are you running paid advertising on? Like are you doing multiple business models inside your business? Because, we have a tendency of entrepreneurs to do affiliate offers on top of our offers and then add a SaaS product and like we make things way too complex where if we just focused on one. So we talked about those things. And then like what are your funnels? What's your funnel look like? Do you have multiple funnels? Are you over complicating your business with that? Are you focusing on ads or organic? And then like do you have a team? So why don't we take one of those little tidbits, Nina, and like let's just start with social media and kind of go through the different phases that we've been through, what we learned through those journeys, what we've seen and what we witnessed, and then kind of just build down from there on like what we've learned as far as like just going down the funnel, right?
Absolutely. So I think this goes hand in hand with the idea of chasing vanity metrics versus really honing in on building a real engaged audience. And that is something that we have fought from the beginning because a lot of times it's like you go on someone's page and you think that they're very accredited because they have a large following, they have the blue check, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, etc. But many times when we do these audits, perfect example, I was also speaking to a client this week, 21,000 followers on LinkedIn, several thousand people following him on YouTube, but there's no sales and no conversions happening, doesn't have an email list except from people he worked with. And the focus has been like to get attention. And like we were talking about how many people saw his post this week, and I was like, okay, how many conversations have you had this week? And the answer was zero. So I think there's a brand versus marketing for sales purposes, which is conversion focused marketing. And a lot of times in the beginning, people get so caught up in building the brand that they don't focus on the real feedback is like, is the brand you're building actually working? And that means, are you talking to people? Are you generating sales? Are you generating revenue? So that's something that I definitely want to bring up with this focus factors. Are we focusing on the wrong thing of top of funnel awareness versus like what's actually driving a business?
Absolutely love that. And I actually watched this video by Sabri Subi this week, and it was on marketing being direct response versus growing your brand. And what Sabri talked about was he talked about how Amazon and Apple and all the major corporations, for the most part, they all start in direct response because they need the capital to grow. I mean, there's a number of reasons why they do that, but most of the time they focus on direct response to get feedback, to grow capital and to just grow and build their business. And then they focus on brand as they're further along with different products, different messaging, and stuff like that. So I loved how you brought that in there. And that is definitely a critical point that I like to bring up because some folks really love building the brand and doing the content side. But it's really the things that they don't love, which oftentimes is marketing and sales in the DMs or even on paid ads, getting on calls. Like those are the needle movers that move the business forward. And oftentimes people stay in doing the things that they love instead of doing the things that make them feel uncomfortable that really are the mover inside of their business, which ultimately leads to failure. Right. So, I mean, how many times have we seen people focusing on getting a logo dialed in and like all their fancy funnels, and then we show them our opt-in page and it's like a black and white two-line headline and like a two-line sub headline, and like we're like, yeah, this thing we're doing multiple tens of thousands of dollars through this one opt-in page a month. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, how does that work? And it's just like, because it's getting what we need it to do. It's not like we have to overcomplicate and do all this crazy branding. I'm not saying branding doesn't matter. That definitely does. But keeping it simple and focused and keeping yourself moving forward into the things you don't like doing is what really will get you to that next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we're really going deep on the topic of like brand versus direct response marketing. There is a place for both of them in a scalable company. So there is a place for promo cycles, there is a place for, marketing campaigns that are going to bring in extra cash injection, but brand is supporting it through when you're not doing the promo cycles. So once you get through that phase of like that, I don't know, even 0 to 30K a month, if you are like an agency or a marketing business, direct response is going to be like what you're focusing on to get people through the door and getting that fast feedback. But as you are pushing into that 50 and 100K per month, you really want to focus on mixing the two between when to use direct response and how to build your brand to really build that trust factor as well as that sales factor.
Yeah, so if you're a person right now that's sitting on this live that is having a problem with sales, for instance, or maybe you're having a problem getting scheduled calls, for instance, really these are the five different things that we look at a 30,000 foot view to determine what's going on as the bottleneck inside of our business. So first things first, are we getting leads and attention on social media? Are we getting engagement? And we'll break down and go deeper into these metrics, but I just want to overview the five bullet points first, Nina. Second, are we having conversations, right? So are we reaching out to the people that are engaging with our content? Are we doing cold outreach? In some cases, if you're brand new and you don't have any engagement, are we getting those people onto appointments is number three. So how many appointments do you have every week? And then of course, are we closing deals, right? And then final and foremost, what does our client success look like? So once you have the engagement on social media, the lead generation's covered, then you have conversations, appointments, sales, and then obviously client success is by far the most important, I would say, because without happy clients, you'll never have a successful scalable business, right? So those are the five that I want to now kind of break down. I know we started on the social media side, but probably should have reviewed the whole five parts before going deeper, right?
Absolutely. And with the five things that you just said, and just to reiterate, it's lead generation, conversations, appointments, sales, and clients. Um, let's focus on the first three.
Mhm.
Just in the beginning. So
Yeah.
I just want to preface this. Jonathan and I have sold from LinkedIn, from Facebook, organic, Facebook ads, Instagram, um, Facebook,
TikTok.
TikTok was a major one for us. So I just want to put it out there. We've sold from multiple platforms and we've generated leads, we've started conversations, and we've booked appointments and we've made sales. We've obviously client success isn't part of the platform, but what we're about to talk about is multifaceted, multi-platform, So if you are on TikTok, you're like, oh, this doesn't resonate with me. It does. If you are on YouTube, this definitely resonates with you because we've done long form like this and converted through it. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone who is watching. This resonates with whatever platform you're building on, whether it is organic or paid ads. Some of our clients are even doing SEO on Google, and this works. So just putting that out there.
Absolutely love that. So, 100%, every platform is the same, even if you're not on any platform, honestly. If you're just doing cold calling, right? It's still the same thing. Are you making enough calls? Are you having enough sales conversations? Are you closing enough deals? Are those people turning into happy clients? It's the same thing no matter what lead source is on social media or like on a brick and mortar. So now, Nina, that we've really broke down those 5 points, why don't we go a little bit into the KPI side? Because it is important that we focus on like what are those raw numbers that we should be doing? Because I think people underestimate the amount of numbers that they should be doing. I know we did. I know I did personally. So as far as content, what we're built on and what we do every day, like look at our profiles, every single day we do at least one post on one social media platform, right? That's really all it takes. As long as you stay true to that one post per day and you work on refining your message and gaining the feedback and continuing to push forward, that's all you really need, honestly, right, Nina? I mean, as you begin to scale past 20, 30, 50, 100, that's when you'll want to move to a different platform, add on different tactics and strategies to help enhance. But really, just sticking to that one platform is really what I see to be the success formula, right?
Yeah. So let's just preface this. Our company combined, we've done over $1 million with TikTok and Facebook alone. So I just want to put that out there. It's like we weren't going after Instagram, we weren't building YouTube. Like we wanted to make sure that things were coming in. The majority came from TikTok. But we didn't want to fully always be content creators, so we shifted over to building the community on Facebook and getting people in from there as well. So we speak what we actually know, and this works for our clients as well. Now we're pushing onto LinkedIn, and then we're really putting our focus on LinkedIn. Facebook will always be a staple because we have a personal brand there, but LinkedIn is our one focus, and we're really challenging ourselves to build that platform. And I think content creation is great, JP, and posting will get the visuals there and build the brand. But I think number two is even more important than number one of content creation. It's really generating conversations, whether inbound or outbound. So let's go really deep on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, once your content is hitting, now you're creating conversations based on the people that are engaging, liking, commenting on your post, right? Following you, right? So reaching out to that warm audience and also expanding that warm audience into your cold. And you should be really having at least 20 new conversations every day, whether that's someone that liked, followed, commented, or someone that's in your sphere that you're reaching out to that's cold and early on, especially. So really 20 new conversations daily. And really, I have on our KPI, Nina, is like 100 total messages is a good starting point. Now that's like a follow-up message or trying to re-engage someone, right? Not saying send 100 new messages a day. That's not what I mean. Like if you set your expectations up, I'm going to send 100 messages, whether that's following up with someone, re-engaging them. That's a really a good starting point because it's going to lead us into the next part, which is scheduling them on like strategy sessions, right? Um, so yeah, really the conversation piece is really just staying active and keeping your pipeline full and active and following up with those people that have showed interest in what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think this is the most crucial because it's the first number that's actually trackable in the entire funnel that we're trying to build. Like you're not going to make 20 sales if you only have 10 conversations. It doesn't make sense. The KPIs don't add up. So in terms of conversation, like we have actively every single day new cold outbound conversations happening. We have us starting conversations on people's posts. We are having inbound conversations that are coming from posts that we've posted. We are reaching out to our warm audience. Every single day we're engaging on platform that we're posting on. And I think it's super important that, I have these conversations with our clients every day. If you can't track KPI for outbound, you're not going to be able to get to the KPI you want in terms of sales. So let's make sure that we're starting with the root here.
Absolutely. And what we learned the hard way too is set your expectations low early on and build up to that number 20, right? So if you can only do 5 a day, just start with 5 a day. And then that's going to help you do 10 a day because you're going to build that habit into your daily schedule. And then you're going to make that next step easier and then the next one and the next one, right? So don't go for 20 and then like die in 7 days. Like focus on the long-term vision because that's where you're going to beat the other entrepreneurs in your space is because oftentimes what we found, Nina, is they do have that big expectation, they hop into doing it and then they die out, right? So now that we talked about conversations, let's now talk about getting appointments, right? And this expectation also may feel a little bit big for some people, but in all reality, you should be booking at least 1 to 3 sales calls every single day, right? And the reason why that is at the base level of the industry standard is you're going to be closing at a 20% close rate, right? So let's say you start them with the 30 calls, which is one call a day. Now, some days you might get three and other days you might not get any. But if you start with 30 calls per month, then you're going to close at least six calls, right? And we're going to refine this process over time. So you might start low and then gain up to 50% close, right? But if you put the KPI at 30, that's a really good starting point.
Yeah, and I think this goes hand in hand with having the conversations. Many times I look at conversations, especially that we're on LinkedIn, which is it's a very B2B platform. People go right in for the I don't know who you are, buy my product or service. They don't have any personalization behind it. Like something that we really focus on here at Scaling Lean is building an ecosystem where people know, like, and trust you before you make the offer, which we will talk about in the next point. But if you are doing, outbound conversations or you are generating conversations, don't just go in with like a sales pitch right away or trying to get somebody on the call right away. Have a conversation, like their post, acknowledge what they're doing, make it very personable. And once you have that personable aspect to it, they're going to check you out. They're going to see what you're putting out, the kind of content that you have. If you're consistent, they're going to build that trust. They're going to understand who you are and what kind of offer you have. And after you get into a little bit of a conversation, then you could ask permission. You have to think of appointments as like getting the first date. If you're having a conversation and it's not going anywhere, or you're not very good, or you're just like, hey, I like you, let's go on a date. Sometimes it doesn't work. You got to spruce them up a little bit inside of the conversations before really making the offer.
It's a really great point, especially earlier on, right? If you focus more on delivering value and getting feedback rather than just making offers and making offers, it's going to go a lot further because you're going to build credibility in your brand. And then when you do go to do the next promo, those people are going to remember that you provided them value and that you were a soul-led entrepreneur instead of just going in for the kill. And it's going to make your offer and promo stronger, far more impactful because you're going to have a better understanding of what the needs are of the people that you got on the sales calls with. So again, keep a distance mindset, go for value and feedback rather than just making offers, especially early on if you're having that problem.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about offer creation and the fact that a lot of people get called and then their close rate is like 5%. There's something in the sales process or there's something in the offer process of how they're creating the offer or how they're presenting the offer. So let's talk about that a little bit, JP.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, really it all boils down to if you're getting the people on the call and you're not closing the deals lower than 20% close rate. Really what I see that as is your unique value proposition isn't hitting or it doesn't connect with them. They don't see the overall value. Maybe they aren't seeing like a case study or testimonial based on what they think they can achieve, or the outcome that you're promising isn't something that they think they can achieve, right? So this is where the feedback and all these mechanisms of communication come in because you're more effectively able to understand what actually is the offer that will get the people to convert, right? So that's really the first thing that comes to my mind, is really what is that unique value proposition that will push someone over the edge to make that next move? Like your offer needs to be different and you need to be different, especially in this market, just because of there's been so many people in the online space promising all types of things that are over and above, right? So it's really important that we have a world-class no-brainer offer that is unique to the market.
Yeah, I think that's something to present here with offer creation. Early on in the stages of business, you should have one offer with one specific problem that you're solving. As you are developing as an entrepreneur, as you are growing your team and you could support more offers, that's when you could low ticket offer, mid ticket offer, high ticket offer, digital product, etc. And we've seen it way too many times before where it's like people try to split into multiple offers, even us early on, JP, with like having our $6,000 offer and then our inner circle program on top, the attention was split and the lower ticket was suffering because the higher ticket was like being built. And I think it's very important for people to understand like early on, one offer, one solution, or one problem, one solution that you're solving. The more you develop, the more you can build your team, the more you can build your processes. That's when you could expand into different things and have, an offer suite where when you get somebody on the phone, if one offer doesn't resonate, you can hear them out and give them another offer that are able to deliver on, which goes hand in hand with client success.
Absolutely. Totally makes sense a lot, Nina. So now that we've really broke down those five stages of the content creation, the conversation starting, getting people on sales calls, closing the deal, and client success. Really what I believe the most important thing here is like it is that 5-45-50 rule, right, Nina? And it's keeping that front of mind as well and having that distance mindset because I believe that what keeps us in that never-ending loop of shiny object is we can just go through it again and again by not focusing on following up with the leads that are in our pipeline, right? That's definitely one factor. And the second thing is not staying true to the exact process and seeing what is broken and identifying what's broken to make that part better. And that's where how we get to the form of scalability, where we can keep increasing and then adding team members into those proven processes and things like that, right? So I just wanted to bring that in now. I know we didn't really go into client success, but that's really just making offers to people that we've already sold to and making sure people are happy, right? So what do you have to say on your side, about like really that 5, 45, 50 and how important it is to stay focused on having that distance approach of the pipeline at a 30,000-foot view and identifying the bottlenecks inside of it?
Yeah, I'm a stats person. I love looking at marketing stats and like how things should work, right? So the first thing I want to bring up here is if you are a service-based business, 25 to 35% of your business should be repeated customers, meaning if you help somebody before, they're going to come back, they're going to help you again. I don't care if you're a plumber, I don't care if you're a roofer, I don't care if you're an agency, a marketer, a coach, etc. Like this is encompassing of the entire industry as a whole. So 25 to 35% of people should be people that you worked with in the past and they're lifetime value customers rather than just one-off clients. Just want to put that out there because it goes into the 545 50 method. Let's break that down now. Now that you know this information and you should be reaching back out to past customers to see if you could help them again or solve a different problem, the 545 50 method is that 5% of people that come into your ecosystem are going to convert right away. 45 are potential buyers that will potentially close if you follow up with them correctly, and 50% of people are dead leads that they're looking for freebies or they're just never going to buy. We like to focus on the 45%. So many companies out there are really just focusing on the first part of the process that we just talked about, which is like the lead generation. It's lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. Oh, I need more leads in the ecosystem in order to convert, which is always true, but it's not the only truth when it comes to, converting clients. There's still 45% of people in the ecosystem. If you're marketing correctly, you should be getting not just vanity metrics and followers on social media. You should be getting email, you should be getting phone numbers. You should be hitting up your leads that come into the ecosystem that trust you and building trust through email marketing and SMS. And then eventually you should be running a promo and you should be extracting money from your list. Over time, the people that enter your ecosystem, this 45%, the more emails they read, the more newsletters they get, the more YouTube videos they follow, the more content that they see from you, they're warming up to you. And you have time to build that trust. They already gave you the email, they already gave you the phone number. So something sparked their interest and you made a good first impression, which is the most important thing inside of business. Secondly, now you're nurturing them. What can you do to get those 45%? So let's talk a little bit about tapping in and extracting cash from that 45%, JP.
Yeah, for sure. So just to reiterate here, like that 45% is the biggest pool of leads that you have inside of your business that will convert into sales, right? And what we see time and time again is business owners just keep getting new leads. The easiest place for you to get more conversations, get scheduled calls, and make sales is inside of that 45% pool. It's not going after the 5% of leads that are on social media. So spend the time with doing the follow-up with the people that are on your social media, commenting, liking, engaging. Spend time following up, building relationships in the DMs, and also writing emails directly that they've already raised their hand for, and then communicating with their email replies and or texting them, right? That's where the money is made, right? The biggest pool is that 45%. So yeah, the question you asked, was what now? What
Tap into it.
how do we tap into it? Yeah. So really it's just creating the emails and really intriguing content or just making direct offers on the email list and or via text message. Really that hit them right front and forward with exactly what they want, right? Which sparks a conversation and gets us to get on the phone with them and then close the deal, right? Whether it's right there on the phone or in 3 to 6 months. So really it's just direct response copywriting and understanding who we're speaking to and what they want.
Yeah. I do want to bring a point up here because a lot of times when we focus on the 45%, because our whole company is scaling lean and we tap into the 45%, we build the email list, we build the marketing system behind, the lead generation that's coming in. We partner with a lot of people that are doing lead generation already and they don't have a conversion system. But the point that I want to bring here is the bigger the 100%, so the bigger the buyer pool, the bigger the 45% that we're tapping into. So a lot of times it's like, oh, like we could extract from email, like I have a large email list. You want to constantly be feeding the email list with the content that we're just talking about. So some of our clients, they choose to run ads. Great. If you have a $3,000 or more budget, you can run paid advertising easily and get leads into the system. If you're doing organic posting like we spoke about in point number 1, the bigger the buyer pool is going to be inside the 5 and the 45%. So just because you have traction inside of email doesn't mean you don't want to get leads into the system. Our whole point here is continue to grow the leads, but also tap into the leads that you already generated. So marketing system, one does not work without the other. And I think it's very important to highlight that because a lot of people focus on one or the other, when if you focus on both, it's a lot more fruitful.
Absolutely love that. So I think we covered the five 45 50 rule. We went over the 5 topics. What I really want to leave off this video, because we're getting up to the 30-minute mark here, Nina. Let's just leave off with 3 questions that someone can ask themselves right now to determine where that bottleneck is inside of their business, right? Because we've sat in this place alone trying to figure it out on our own for a while. And I just want to equip people with those 3 questions because I feel like they're super important, and it'll keep them moving forward and not potentially looping back to that shiny object syndrome loop that I was telling you about, keeping them focused on what's actually broken inside their business and driving forward to scalability and predictability. So really the big 3 questions that I have, that we've gone through together multiple times, Nina, is like, where are our leads stopping, right? Are they hitting a wall somewhere? Like, are we getting good engagement, but we're not moving them into conversations? Or are we in conversation, but we're having a hard time getting them on calls? Where is that big brick wall inside of your sales pipeline that your leads are stopping? That's going to be a huge indicator of something that you need to work on personally. Um, what's that one metric that needs to be fixing, right? So, Nina, you went into KPIs. If you don't track this pipeline, then you're not going to have any idea, right? And data will smack you in the face completely, and it's not emotional. Like you'll just be like, okay, I'm not getting enough calls. What do I need to do? Right. And it might be blatantly obvious, but as you begin to scale your business, Nina, it might turn into, I don't have enough qualified calls. Maybe we have 50 calls, but maybe 10 of them are qualified, right? So it's about understanding those metrics more deeply as you begin to scale as well. And then the third question is like, where am I personally avoiding looking inside of my business to move the needle forward, right? So perfect example, maybe you love content creation and you're avoiding sales, or maybe you love sales and you're avoiding marketing. Where is that number one thing that you need to work on personally that will move you forward as a business owner? Go straight head on into that, like a buffalo running into rain. Because if you don't do that, you're just going to stagnate and then you're going to loop back in the shiny object, searching for tactics and strategies to fix your problem when you're actually the problem.
Yeah. A lot of times it's a delegation problem. People are scared to let go, so they're letting some balls drop because they're not able to, step outside of the ego and see that a business takes multiple people to grow and scale. Um, Usually it's a very uncomfortable question to ask yourself, or the answer that you find is very uncomfortable. But it's always profitable at the end of the day. So I think we should leave it off with that is definitely dig into those 3 questions. If there is a bottleneck where it's like, this is what I have to fix, all you have to do is, you know, solve the problem. And usually there's money on the other side of it. There's a lot of success, whether it's client success or sales success or marketing success on the other side of that, face-to-face thing that you're coming to.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that I learned in entrepreneurship too is like it is embracing those points of pain or friction, right? That's what really will make or break you. Um, yeah, we've read about it. I've read about it in E-Myth. I've read about it, heard about it with Alex Ramosi, all the greatest people. If you don't confront the thing that is your biggest rock, then you're not going to get where you want to go. It's really that simple. So that being said, thank you all for joining in today for our live on why most businesses fail, which is really the focus factor and focusing in on what needs to be fixed, what KPI is out of whack. If you need support with this, we have spreadsheets to help you identify what is the bottleneck and help you start tracking those KPIs if you're not doing it right now. Really a simple process. It won't take more than probably 10 or 15 minutes a day, probably not even that. So if you want more information on that, drop an audit below. We can hop on a 15-minute call for clarity and get you hooked up with that sheet, or we can just send you over the sheet if that's what you want. Take us out. That's all I got for us today.
All right. Well, we're here at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time every single week for the last basically like 100 weeks at this point. I think we're actually at like 98. So if you join us in 2, it'll probably be 100. And with that being said, we'll see you next week, 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We'll have a nice topic. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, we have 2 going out per week, one written by JP, which is Wednesday Revenue Recharge, and one on Saturday morning by me, Saturday Inbox Insiders, all about email, all about marketing systems, all about profitability and how you can extract more money by building your lead source and tapping into those leads. So if you want to get into that, all you have to do is drop hashtag newsletter below. We'll send it over to you. We'll send you the backlogs and we'll send you the ones going forward. So we'll see you guys next week.